Hi guys, this is Fred Meyer from WP Shout, and today I'm going to be talking about working in a text editor and making changes quickly and efficiently in a text editor. So what I want to do is this is one of the oldest web pages in the world, and it's actually dedicated to how bad Internet Explorer is, which is, it's cool that some things never change. And I wanted to take these like crazily formatted pieces of HTML, and I wanted to show you how to use Sublime-Text or a similar text editor to turn them into something that could actually go into a WordPress post and not end up looking like this, but rather look clean. So my goal is to just sort of go through it myself and kind of go step by step myself and see how I would solve these problems and try to sort of narrate how I'm using my text editor, which is Sublime-Text, to fix this into something that could actually look decent as content in a WordPress post. So the first thing we'll do is we'll get all this text. And obviously, if you just paste into the text editor, all the formatting gets stripped. So that's an easy way to actually paste from a web page into WordPress and not have to worry about it. If you paste into the visual editor, then all the formatting gets kept. But I mostly want to show you kind of how Sublime-Text itself works. And so I'm going to pretend that I didn't have access to like the easy out of just pasting into the text editor. And I'm going to pretend that what I really need to do maybe is not paste into WordPress, but for whatever reason, I need to take this HTML and I need to clean it up. So what is this, a bunch of tables? Yeah, it's a bunch of tables. So I guess we'll just take the whole body. Let's see, here's this. So we'll take the whole body, okay. And you can copy all that. I'm in the Chrome browser inspector, so I've copied the body and everything inside it. I'm going to paste it in here, and this is what I have to work with. And let's say that what I want is to output a nicely formatted version of the same text, and let's say I want it let's say I want each thing in a div that could maybe be the basis for a column layout. So I want this same text but in 2 columns in a WordPress post. So the first thing I'll do is get rid of the body and all the stuff before, like the actual tables that we care about. Then I'll delete the same from the bottom. Okay, and then this was the last table. All right. So now we have just a mess of markup, and this is the kind of thing that you end up dealing with on web projects for one reason or another. It's just a bunch of markup, and you need to make changes across the entire thing, and it's not clear where to start. And obviously we could just go one by one, like, do we need this? No. 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 But that's going to take forever. And so I want to show you especially some keyboard shortcuts and some ways of looking at markup that can help you delete things, remove things, and add things in an intelligent way. Okay, so the first thing I like to do is actually remove ending tags of HTML elements that I know that I don't want. So I'm not going to ever use the font tag, it's deprecated. And so I'm going to start with the /font things, because the closing of a tag never has any words in it. It just closes a tag. The opening of a tag could have attributes, it could have classes, it could have an ID. So you never know exactly what an opening tag says, but you do know what a closing tag says. It always just says /font or /tr or whatever. So what I want to do is I want to delete all of the closing tags that I know I won't be using. The first one is font. So I want to select all of the instances of font in this entire document. So how did I do that? Well, in Sublime-Text on Windows, I held down Control and I hit D. And every time you hit D, it selects the next one. And now for a Mac, that would be Command D. And actually, these commands are quite consistent across text editors from what I can tell. So even if you're using something like Atom or another text editor, my guess, and from from what I know, that the truth is that Control D or Command D will let you do this. And it's really cool. Every time you do Control D, it actually creates a new cursor. So let's say I wanted to create actually a space in front of these first 4 font tags. If I just hit enter, you see it created it in 4 places, right? So that's really cool. Control D lets you edit all of the things that are a certain way and do something to it. So if I wanted to change /font to /font tag, I type that once and it's all over the entire document. Okay, so what we really want to do is to get rid of all the closing font tags. Well, another way to do that, that's maybe a little bit simpler, is Control H, which is replace. So we're going to copy this, Control C, then Control H, and you see it's right here. What do we want to find? This is what we want to find. What do we want to replace it with? We want to replace it with nothing. We want to just replace it with blankness or nothing. And then we do replace all, and that got rid of all our closing font tags. So I'm going to do the same thing with any pattern I see here that I don't want. So this /tbody/table thing, I'm going to select all the instances of that I can find and delete it. We're not going to do table formatting at all, so we're going to get rid of all the table rows as well. And you can start to see we're really shedding a lot of markup pretty quickly here. And I'm just focusing on closing tags for the time being. Okay. Oh, and then center. So let me find center. Okay. So center is like a massively deprecated HTML tag that centers something. So we're going to get rid of all those. Okay. So we got rid of all those. All right. Now let's start getting rid of opening tags that are in patterns that they show up a bunch of times. So I noticed that a lot of lines just say tbody tr. And I don't want any of those, so I get rid of them. Then we've got these opening center tags that we don't want. And then these B tags, I might actually want to keep them if some of this text wants to be bold and some of it wants to be normal face, but B is deprecated. It's actually strong is the proper name of the tag. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select B and then this closing brace here. Now why am I doing that? It's because that also lets me Control D and select the closing tag of every B element, right? So if I select just B, then I get all the B's, including B's that show up in words, which is not what I want. And if I do opening tag B, then I only get the opening bold tags. But in this case, what I want is I want to change every B tag to a strong tag. And to do that, because none of these B's have anything in them like a class or whatever, because none of them have this, they're just a plain old opening B tag and that's it, I can go B and then this right closing part here. And then if I do that, I get both the opening and the closing tags across the entire document. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to change every B to a strong. Okay. Now what? Well, we've got a lot of font tags that we don't want. How are we going to get rid of them all? Well, a lot of them are this thing that colors this period, this very light gray. And we definitely don't want any of those. So what we're going to do is we're going to Control D and select all of the font color E80, 80, 88. Actually, I want to select all of the font color E80, 88 things with a period after it. And I want to get rid of all those. So that cleans up that pattern in this markup. So what I'm doing is I'm looking for patterns, things that are easy to clean up. And then I hit Control D and nothing happens. So that means that this is the only one of the font color E8, E88 things that didn't have a D after, that didn't have a period after it. So I'm just going to delete this. Okay. So we're getting closer to a clean situation. Let's see what other patterns we can find. Because again, if I have to delete stuff by hand, like, oh, let me just delete this, now let me delete this, now let me delete this, right? It's going to take forever. So what I'm trying to show us is time savers, things that save time in cleaning up markup. Well, I know I don't want anything to have a font. I don't want any font tags. That's just bad. And I want to be able to say the fonts of things myself. I don't want the markup to be existing markup to be dictating that, because I don't want things showing up on my website in Arial. That's not the font. That's not in the font families that I use. So I hope I made that clear. Okay, so so there's multiple tags that say font face Arial Helvetica. That whole string. There's multiple tags that are exactly identical to this. So if I hit Control D, I find a bunch of them. And I don't want any of them, so I get rid of those. Now, we've got a lot of fonts that are trying to dictate colors for pieces of text. And I don't want any of those, but they're all kind of different. They're mostly different. Like, there's two that say font color 993300. There's other ones that there's here, this one that says font color 990000. So if I hit Control D on this to try to find other instances of it, there aren't any. And if I hit Control D to find other instances of this, then there is only one other. But you see how many instances there are of other, like, fonts that are of other colors. And these are all identical. All these tags are identical except that these 6 characters change, right? So what we can do is we can just select font color equals quote and a number and hit Control D, or just hold down Control D or Command D if you're on a Mac. And we're going to get all of the things that start this way. And if we look around, what we can do in all of these cases is we can just move over by hitting Shift and left, we'll select less stuff, or Shift and right, we'll select more stuff. We can just move over and select the rest of these characters, even though they're different. So now we are selecting every font of any color throughout the document, even though the colors are different. And we did that by starting with this. So I'm doing click, shift, holding down shift, and that lets me select this. And then if I do shift right or left, I can select more or less. So now if I do Control D, it selects the next thing that matches this pattern. So I'm going to do that all the way through the document. And now I'm just hitting shift right. I'm holding down shift and hitting the right key to select the entire tag. Then if I delete it, that gets rid of all of our font color thingies all at once. Now here we've got these font size things. What is this? There's a lot of them. Control D. So that's done. Now there's a lot of font face for Donnas. That's done. Okay. And what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to start with each opening table thing. And I want to, okay, so what did I do there? I did select this, Control D to get it all the way across the document. Then I hit my home key to get to the beginning of the line. So you see I'm at the beginning of a bunch of different lines, right? Then if I hit enter, it's going to create some separation, and that lets me know that each one of these things is its own unit. Because, you know, in the original thing, each one of these things is its own table, and those are the different pieces of text that exist on this page. So if I select all my opening table tags all the way through the document, let's see. If I select all my opening table tags all the way through the document, and if I hit left to get to the beginning of the line, or home, either way, home, then I hit enter once, it's starting to break out all the different pieces of text so I can see what's what, which is good. It's nice to have some separation between things. All right, and you see I just did it once and it did it all the way through the document, which is what we're trying to teach, is how to do things once throughout a large document, and that way you can work with a huge amount of markup all at once. Okay. All right. So what do we want to do? Well, we definitely don't want these TDs anymore, but some of them have a break before them and some of them don't, so that's weird. So maybe what I can do is I can look for TD, an opening TD with a space after it, and that should catch all the ones that have a break, but it'll leave the ones that don't have a break alone. So there's that. Now if I delete that, that gets rid of all the opening TD tags that had a break space after it. And then now if I do TD with nothing, then, okay, well now this has nothing in it, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, that was easy. Now if I do all the TDs with nothing, then I get the other ones that don't have a break space after. So by doing it, by doing one rule and then another, it lets me actually standardize the layout of these elements when that layout wasn't standardized to begin with. So if I get rid of all these TDs, now it always goes table and then text. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we're getting down to a table, a strong tag, some text, and an ending TD element. Now, of course, oh, and I guess I forgot to do that for this first one. I must not have held down TD long enough. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so there's TT tags, and I don't know what those are, table something, but we definitely don't want them. So again, I'm going to start by deleting all the closing TT tags with Control D, and then I'm going to go in and delete all the opening TT tags with this. And if I want to know if there's any TT tags left that maybe look like this, which, you know, if I just search for this, then it wouldn't find this in the document because, you know, the closing thingy is here and not here. So if I want to know if there's anything in the document that looks like this, I can just search for this. I can search for opening thing, TT, and a space, because the space would be needed to say that there's a class or a style or something like that. So are there any TT tags left at all? No, there's not, because if I hit Control D, nothing happens. If I hit Control D, nothing happens. So there's no TT tags left in the text. All right. So now we're at the level of an opening table tag, some text, which we still need to format, and a closing TD tag. And I think what I want to do is I want to take each of these table tags and I want to just delete the entire line, and I'll show you how to do that. And I just want to replace it with a div. Okay, so how did I do that? Well, I did a search for open, then table. So just the start of a table tag, no matter what comes after it, whether it looks like this or whether it looks like table calls equals 1 or whatever. Because as you see, these are all different. Like this has a different background color, etc. So I just start with this, hold down Control and hold down D and get it all the way across the document. All right. Now what I want to do is I want to select the whole line because one nice thing, one way that we're kind of lucky, is that all of these table tags are on their own line. Each one of these table tags is on its own line. So we know that if we select the whole line, we're just working with the table tag and nothing else. So we've got this. This is what we've got selected all across the document, every opening table tag. Now I want to hit Home, which takes us to the beginning of the line. Now I don't want to like hit left. Well, I guess hitting left actually works. Let's see. Yeah, you could also hit left but you see you start to get into trouble. Like I messed up and now I'm in a bad situation where on line 1, I'm before the table tag, but on line 4, I'm on the line above. So if I start typing something, it gets bad because now typing is on the line, at the same line as table here, but on line 4, it's on a different line. So yeah, you can get into trouble with right and left. But if you select everything and you do Home, it takes you to the very first part of the line. Now what I want to do is select the entire line. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and again, you don't want to use right and left, because if I use right, okay, okay, that's the whole line, right? Well, not always. Like one of these, yeah, here. On 66, this line is super, super, super long. It just happens to be longer than all the other ones. So what if I hit right to try to select all of it? Well, now I'm selecting more stuff everywhere else. And if I hit delete, I just deleted a bunch of content, and I'm really in trouble, right? So we do not want to really to use right and left for something like this, whose length we don't know. what we want to do is we want to select all of our opening table tags and do home, which gets us to the front of the line, hold down shift and hit end, which gets us to the end of the line. Now we've selected that whole line everywhere, even the super long one. It's just this line, it's not the lines below it. Now you can hit backspace or delete. I hit backspace. Now I'm going to hit delete to, oh no, I'm not. Now I'm going to type div. I typed that once and it showed up everywhere in the document, right? And that's because we've got a whole bunch of cursors operating. We've selected a whole bunch of lines in the document, anything that's gray along here. So when I type div once, it did it everywhere. And that's really, really powerful. It keeps you from like treating yourself like an old factory worker, just churning through stuff and doing the same thing a million times. Okay, now let's take this closing TD tag and it is at the end of every one of these sections. Sometimes it's at the end of a line, sometimes it's not. So this time it's at the end of a line, but this time it's not. So that I don't have to do different things, I'm going to first search for the end of a line and then /td, and I'm going to get all those. And I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to hit enter and type the end of a div. Right? So now I've got an opening div, and then some stuff, and then a closing div. Now with this, these are all not on their own line. So I'm going to do Control D to get all of them. And then I'm going to hit the left arrow to get to the beginning of it and hit enter, and that will put all of them on a new line. And then I can just go in and change it to the end of a div. So now we've got all of these elements are wrapped in a div. Okay, now I noticed something. So one thing here is having kind of a sharp eye as you're doing this stuff. I noticed that for some reason, probably something I did or who knows, this thing doesn't actually have a closing div. And you can see that because, you can just see it. Like there's an opening div, but there's not a closing one. It's really easy. It's much easier to recognize this pattern if you've got stuff on its own line. So you can see div, some stuff, /div, div, some stuff, /div, div, some stuff, no /div. And because we've sort of been kind of clean about how we approach this markup, we can see that pattern. So I'm just going to go through here really quick and scan and see if we've got this problem anywhere else. I just manually typed /div on line 15. I'm going to see if we've got this problem anywhere else. No, it looks good, but this looks weird, doesn't it? I guess it's just got multiple paragraphs. All right. Div /div, div /div, div /div. Okay, we're completely good. All right. All right. And now we're getting to such a sort of a clean point that we can start to actually clean things up individually. We can actually pay individual attention to each one of these divs. So what I'm noticing is that some of them start with strong and some of them don't start with strong. But I don't think that's going to look good if we were to paste it into a WordPress website or something like that. Right? I think that's going to look really bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to delete all of our strong tags. And again, I'm going to start with the closing tags. That's just a habit for me. I held down Control D. I got it everywhere across the document. Now I'm going to hit delete. Okay. And now I'm going to delete all the opening strong tags as well. Same process. Hold down Control D. Delete. Okay. Now I've got a bunch of font tags that I don't think we want. And I noticed that some of them say font size -1 and some say font size -2, I think. I'm just going to delete all those and see how we do. Now, again, I want to see if we've got any font tags. So I'm just going to I'm just going to do Control F and look for font. And I see it. I see one font that declares a face, which is why we didn't catch it earlier. So I'm just going to Shift Home get the whole tag and delete it. Now, do we have any fonts left? Yeah, font size +4. Okay, we didn't get that one. Hold down Control D. Nothing else. I'm going to get rid of this. And now you can see that this has nothing in it except an X. So we don't need this. So now I'm getting into sort of a, oh, I see. This is the opening div. This is an X button. Right. And you can see, like, he's doing sort of colorful layouts that are apparently what websites looked like in 1995. But we don't want that X. We're not going to be using it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. And as you can see, I'm getting actually into the process of massaging like the contents of each one of these individual divs myself. So as I look at this, I'm going to hit space and delete, so that it puts it on one line, space and delete, because this thing has, okay, and this thing has manual line breaks. It's like making line breaks. So as I go down, I'm hitting space, delete, space, delete, space, delete, space, delete. Okay. Now, there's a lot of these non-breaking spaces, and that just is a ugly special kind of space that we don't want. So I'm just going to Control D, and I'm actually going to make it a space character, which is what it would usually be. And then I'm just going to look for any time that there's two spaces like this with Control D. So I just highlighted the two spaces between the word lazy and two. And I'm going to hit Control D and see how many of those there are. There's a total of 2, and I'll just replace that with one space. All right. So as you can see, this is starting to look so clean, right? Okay. So clean this up. Clean this up. Clean this. Now again, it's got manual like line breaks in here. I wonder if I can do a find replace for those. No, I don't think so. Because if I replace every line break, it'll also replace the line break after div and stuff like that. So we can't do that. So I think I have to do this by, what I'm doing is I'm hitting space delete, space delete, space delete, to just sort of form up lines so that they don't have manual line breaks between them. Space delete, oop, space delete, etc. It's crazy how much people hated Internet Explorer back in the day. Yeah, so much snark. Okay, now here's something I'm noticing. You see these I tags? That's actually what now, I is deprecated. It stands for italic. It should be M for emphasis. So again, I'm going to do that trick I showed you where right, what could I do? If I do this, it only gets the opening tags, right? And it also gets image, which we don't want, right? But if I do this, it also gets the closing tag. And I don't think there's any HTML tags that are standard that end with the letter I. So if I just do I and then a closing tag, we're going to get both the opening and closing of all of the I tags that exist. I'm just going to make them M's. I don't know what this is. Oh, and yeah, I don't know what this is. Why just these are underlined, but that's probably not something I want to keep. So I'm just going to, again, I'm at the level of paying, and I don't know why just ood is italicized, but I probably wouldn't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. And you can see I'm at the level of sort of paying personal attention to each one of these things because I've done all this stuff that's standard. All right, so let's see what else. And I'm trying to get rid of line breaks. Oops, I just deleted the letter A. So as you can see, it's getting less efficient as we get more granular because we're getting into stuff that is like less assembly line and more like we have to pay attention to each thing separately as a custom thing. Okay. Font. Oh, here's another font tag. Boy, I thought we got them all. Let's see how many we've got. Oh, we've got quite a few. Oy vey. Okay. Let's see. I wish, and maybe you can put this in the comments, I wish there was a way to highlight the beginning of this tag and then to get myself over to the end of the tag, like without using an arrow. Because you see, I've got this, right? But they're all these things are different widths. So this gets the letter O into Homa, right? So that's not what I want. So if there was some way to highlight this and then know that I was selecting all the way to the end of the tag itself, that would be super helpful. I don't know how to do that. So if anybody knows, please tell me. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is put a bunch of spaces before all the fonts. And that lets me scroll really casually and know that I've got a font here, and it makes it easier to delete. Okay. All right. Oh, look at this. This is actual HTML. That's good. Okay. I'm going to delete out all the okay, this here's an underline. We probably don't want to keep that. Oh, look, there's multiple of them. Okay, don't want those. I did Control D to do that. This is an image, so I did Home, Shift, End, get rid of that. Okay. This is making me sad. Okay, let's get rid of this underline. Yeah, so hopefully it's clear that I only have to do one or two things with each one of these to clean them up. Oh, there's a font face. So I only have to do one or two things individually with these things to clean them up. Versus if it was loaded down with tags and I was going one by one, it would really, really take a long time. Okay. Here's another font tag. An idiot exploiter. That's what they used to call Internet Explorer. Okay, here's another font tag. Don't want that. I forgot how like heavy duty the browser wars were. Whew. Site policy, and I'm putting all the break tags at the end of the thing, at the end of the line that they're on. Okay, here's another font face, and again I put this huge break before it just to make it easier to clean. Okay, almost done, I think. Here's another font tag. Here's an actual paragraph tag. Look at that. So, yeah, well, we'll just leave it. This is so dark. And also, you know, I will say that this is sometimes, you know, I'll spend a while doing this. Like this is I think this guy learned how to use paragraphs right at the end of this article he was posting, because there's only paragraphs at the very, very end. It's really interesting. Okay, well, we'll leave the paragraphs, whatever. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that, because we're going to be in WordPress, and WordPress has auto-paragraphing. So I'm going to do that. I got rid of all the closing p tags, and I'm going to get rid of all the open p tags. All right, so we're down to almost just text, which is good. I think I'm going to get rid of all the break tags too. No, I'm not going to do that. I'll go ahead and let there be single breaks when the guy originally wanted. All right, so we've got a bunch of divs and closing divs and text inside it, and we kept the things that are italicized. I think we got rid of all the strong things because I just thought they would look bad. But we kind of got rid of all the other markup. And it was only at the end when I had to do sort of thingy by thingy, like item by item cleanup. There was a lot of stuff that we could do programmatically, meaning a lot of stuff that we could do once across the entire document. And that was really good. Hey, I want to show you, let's see, what else do we want to do? Well, if we want to put we want to give all the divs a class, like, small 6 columns, so that they're half, so that it could be a 2-column layout. And I'm wondering, do I know a way to make every second div? Do I know, I'd like to do this, right? But I don't know if I know a way how to only select every second element. Let me just think here. I guess here's where I Google Sublime text select odd occurrences. Every other line. Oh, you have to use regular expressions. Okay. Select every other occurrence. Skipping next occurrence when using Control D. Let's see how we do. Select Alt F3 to select all the occurrences. Okay. So we're going to select them all with, let's try this, Alt F3. Huh! So Alt F3 gets all occurrences all at once. You don't have to hold down Control D. So, whoops. All right. So Alt F3, and then Control D gets it, Control K skips it. Is that how it was supposed to work? Control D, Control K, Control D, Control K. Oh, look at this. Interesting. What does Control K do? Whoops. I think it skips. Huh. I think it deselects, maybe. Okay, well, I'm learning in the context of. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do Control D, Control K, Control D, Control D, Control K. So I'm hitting Control D twice and Control K once. I'm holding down Control. I'm hitting D, D, K, D, D, K, D, D, K. Okay, I think I did that right. I don't know if it worked out at the very end, but as you can see, I've got every other instance of this div. That's really cool. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to I messed it up. I actually want the even ones, not the odd ones. So D, D, K, D. Whoop. Okay, so we'll do D, K, D, D, K, D. Ugh. D, K, D, D, K, D, D, K, D. Cool. The only issue is that I got the last one. So I just have to manually delete the first one. I got the first one by accident. But look at that. So with a little bit of Googling, live on YouTube, you could, if your column layout treated things that were the end of a, like if you've got a 2-column layout and you need to specify a last class for the thing that is the second of the columns instead of the first, I just found a way to select only every other instance of a particular thing. So that made it, if I knew what I was doing, that would have made it very quick to lay this thing out the way we want. So that's basically it. That's just me kind of like trying to live talk you through how I use Sublime Text to take what is really, really, really gross markup. If you'll remember what this looked like, we'll edit as HTML. Control A to get everything. Control C to copy. and then I'm just going to paste. Remember, this is what this looked like. And, I could go through and delete all the tags I don't want one by one in maybe 45 minutes. But if I wasn't live explaining this, I could probably have done what I just did in, I would say, maybe 10 minutes. So it's just a big time saver. And honestly, working with big, ugly text blocks, whether this is PHP or HTML or JavaScript or whatever, is it's very much in the job description of a web developer and a WordPress developer. So I hope that showing you some tricks for cleaning up text into something kind of orderly that you wouldn't be ashamed to put into a WordPress post editor, taught you some stuff about how to use, in my case, Sublime-Text, but again, almost every text editor has rather similar keyboard shortcuts, and probably the big difference between a Mac and Windows is just when I say Control, you just think Command if you're on a Mac. I think that's all I wanted to say, so thank you guys for watching, and be in touch if I can clarify anything about this, or if we can ever help you with any topic in WordPress or technology more broadly on WP Shout. Thank you.